Hey Rivals coaches, Zay Valor here, coming at you with another guide on how to get better at Rivals. Particularly in this case, we're going to be looking at how you use the post-match screen to help better your game. Now, with the 3.1 update, Metagames did bless us with the ability to view our past games. This is a huge boon for all players because it's really going to allow us to look at things that normally we wouldn't have access to after the fact. It's going to be able to let us see patterns, trends, how our team is doing, especially if you're an AFK player. So what I'm going to go over here today is how I use the Fixtures overview to help myself make better decisions, how it influences what decisions I make in a game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a match here, just going to go into a scrim match, and I'm going to show you what I look at and what you should be focusing on as a player with the post-match screen. Now, the post-match screen has a ton of information. It has everything you could ever want. Battle summaries, phase summaries, skill checks, power, item and XP level, BTP, anything you can think of, it's in here. So what do we want to focus on? The first week or so of a patch, and I especially recommend this if you are a newer player just looking to get their feet wet with the post-match screen, I look at every post-match screen and I focus on one phase and just one phase. I choose the phase I'm going to focus on based on how the match went. For instance, if there's a phase where something surprising happens or something I don't quite understand, I'm going to go into that phase to get a closer look. This is going to give me a better understanding of why was I surprised and how can I make sure I'm not surprised in the future. The more knowledge you have of how the game works and its inner workings, the better choices you're going to be able to make. So let's go into a phase here and I'll show you what I look at. Well, before they do that, let's just do a quick overview of the actual screen here. So at the top, you're going to have your basic information, gold, towers, kills, normal stuff. You do have a little match report. These give little quips of what happened. Sometimes it'll give information such as your opponent's skill was too high, or you had the greatest power during the mid game, or you started off strong, but your opponent could pull it out in the end. It kind of gives you a little summary of what we're going to see later. Match MVP, very nice. Gold graph, it's just going to show you how the gold went. If you're watching the game, you're going to be seeing this in real time. If you're AFK, this is a really good way to see when you lost advantage or gained advantage. Then it has all the different players. Now, what this is going to look at here is how these players' power compared to each other over time. So you can see here that, say for instance, Powder Jack versus Chansey. Chansey's an early game hero, therefore she gets a nice boost in the early game, which is why she's more powerful. But through plays and farming, Powder Jack was eventually able to overcome it. So this is a good way to look to see when your power was spiking the hardest and how your team was doing. It's also going to give you little quips about if the player worked, if they performed well. This is actually talking about, the first one is talking about which plays you selected, or if the champion was a comfort or class proficiency pick. And then the bottom one, the performed well, is actually talking about skill checks. How did they do in skill checks? And how did skill checks go that they were involved with? Gives you a nice little overview to see if you did well. If you have a bunch of players saying it was just not their day, your skill checks were not going in your favor. This could be because either of your power or you just got unlucky this game. One thing I need to emphasize right now is that this is to simulate actual players. Players have bad days. RNG is not going to go in your favor, and that's okay. We have to have that RNG and that randomness to keep the game alive, otherwise it becomes deterministic. But by using this post-match screen, we can start to better understand why things went wrong and even overcome those bad RNG days. So let's go into the real part, the real in-depth part of this screen, and that's the different plays. So what you can do is you can, of course, here see how all the plays went, But then more specifically, what you can do is you can go into a phase. Now let's go into early 2 here. You can see that I got crushed by plays. I lost 2 players. So let's see what happened. If you would just go ahead and click in, it's now going to give you even more information. The top is going to be the tactics that were selected, which shows the attributes that were being boosted. And then underneath the picture, it would tell you if you had any dragons. Dragons give a 5% boost, and it is cumulative, so it will show there for you. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to start on Invade here. This is going to show you the different stats that were involved, as well as how it was calculated. Then it's going to show you that beautiful skill bar. If you haven't seen my skill checks and you video yet, please go watch that. That will give you a lot of information on what the skill check actually means. In this case, right underneath it, it's going to tell us a little bit about what happened based on that skill check. 1, my players are going to join late, and that's because they were surprised. Invade is a play that does put the surprised debuff on your players. So, okay, great. Good to know. Underneath that, you're going to be able to see a summary of the battle. This is going to give you a good idea of how your players actually did. And it's something you can look at to see, okay, did they focus wrong? Was my power high enough? What happened? So you can go through on each of these plays and see all the different things that happened during the game. You can see deaths, like here where Feyna died to the jungler. You can see if they recalled, how many attacks they missed. All this information is good to help you understand why the result occurred. So what I encourage you to do here is go ahead into your fixtures overview and choose a match. Let's go into one here where I lost. We'll go into here. So this is the most you can learn from, are these losses. So let's go in here. So you can see from the gold graph, what I'm going to look at is where did I lose advantage? Okay, mid 1. I was doing well in early, and then mid 1, things went completely downhill. Let's see what happened here. Well, first off, we know from here that Vector user was often out of position to join combats. This meant that my top laner did not get involved. So her power was essentially removed from my team. That's huge. If she was the most farmed person on my team and she's not getting into team fights, her farm does not matter. So, okay, so I can plan a little bit better to get her involved, sure. Keep going. Oh, my mid also was out of position. Oh, that's a huge problem. Arcazor is one of my carries. Oh boy, well, I gotta have to figure out a way to make sure that he gets involved more. All right, so we'll go down. So what happened? Okay. So let's go into this mid 2, because that's really where things went downhill. I lost 4 towers and 4 people. Oof. Let's go in and see what happened. Alright, so they got a decent bait split push. Now, this should be a 5v4, but Arcazor went down early. You can see after 6 seconds, and then it took another 4 seconds for us to kill one of theirs. That's a lot of damage and a lot of recall on our side. That's going to be a problem later into the next play. We got the split push, where they tried that, and it went decently well. You can see here that my farm got canceled. Another farm went off, but it was just okay, so just a little bit of value there. I then tried to fight Hydra. Well, that didn't go so well either. And because they had an advantage now, because one of my carries, my late game, was gone, I'm going to be at a huge disadvantage. Okay, so that makes more sense. We had some people recalled. We got a lot. It was just a long fight. 15 seconds is a very long fight in this game. So you can see we recalled 1. We were just having a problem killing things. Okay, that's fine. And so you can just go by play, and try to figure out what happened, what patterns you're seeing. Okay? So that's really what I'm looking at. What changed during these plays to make it so that I lost? So what I encourage you to do is go into your losses. Look at the phase that most surprised you and try to get some conclusions as to why you lost. But don't just note it just to note it. Make sure that you're taking the time and trying to learn from it. This is going to make you the best player you possibly can be. These screens are incredibly powerful, and yes, they are overwhelming. There's just a ton of information. If you have questions about a phase or how to better read this, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you with that. This is something that I've been looking at since beta. This is something I know that I'm good at, is reading these and understanding what's going on with them. So send me one. Send me your history or a phase you don't understand. I'll be happy to take a look. But please, 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 for the first week or so of a pass, at least, look at every post-match and just at one phase. The phase that most surprised you or you don't understand why it happened that way. It will make you a better player. So I hope this helped you understand how you can use the fixtures overview just a little bit better. Again, if you have questions, let me know. I am on the Discord. I am there to help you. So please let me know. I hope this helped, and I'll see you out there, coaches.